smoke hasn't even cleared yet, and we already have massive responses to the New Orleans terrorist attack by Mohammed bin Jabbar, and allegedly from the Islamic State and Levant. Um, and it didn't take long for the Christian right to basically offer their own thoughts. I'm going to play a very short clip, and thank God it's short. It's coming from Oklahoma Superintendent Ryan Walters, who, if you don't know, is a fundamentalist Christian. By all means, this guy is not a Christian in any sense of the word. This guy's a fundamentalist. It's funny because here's a guy who's basically talking about an Islamic terrorist who committed a terrorist act, and here's this guy who would love to have a caliphate of his own inside the United States, but it be Christianity. But let's see what he has to say, and I'm going to offer my thoughts.
What a terrible day when we see terrorist attacks on American soil. It's absolutely tragic, and we've got to look as a country on how these things happen. We absolutely have to shut down the border to not allow terrorists to come across the border.
All right. For one, the border is not the primary problem. It's a problem, but it's not the primary problem. Um, we have a porous border. We have a porous security. And this is a combination of both the Republican and Democrat parties that you're a part of. But you only see the problem halfway because you are a conservative. You are a what I would call a extremist, right? You're a political extremist. You're also a religious fundamentalist. You definitely are not a theologian. You pick and choose what you want from the Bible, just like every other evangelical Christian does. Okay. Same thing as a Wahhabi. A Wahhabi claims that he is the only true Muslim that has read the Quran, but basically doesn't really know how to read or doesn't speak Arabic. Usually, Wahhabis are foreign Arabs, and they're not from a home state of like Saudi Arabia. A lot of these come from like Algeria, France, Iraq, Pakistan, uh, Philippines, Qatar, you know, in the poorest regions too, southern Saudi Arabia. These are people that, go to the madrasas and they are taught this branch called, Wahhabism or Salafist Islam, which deviates from the Prophet Muhammad because most of what they're learning from are from the Hadiths, which are the memoirs attributed to the Prophet Muhammad by people like Ibn Taymiyyah or Ibn Hanbal, Muhammad Hassan, more recently, Ibn Baz, who was a Grand Mufti in Saudi Arabia. And of course, Muhammad Ibn al-Wahhab, right? So you have these people that basically just uh, love to call other Muslims munafiq or takfir, as they call it. Munafiq being fake Muslim. Takfir is when you declare that another Muslim is an apostate or, somebody who isn't really a Muslim. And this ideology called takfir is the primary reason of why there is a civil war within this sect of Sunni Islam. There are two branches of Islam, Sunni and Shia. The Sunnis do not consider Wahhabis as Islamic, neither do the Shia, incidentally enough, is that these are a very small branch of Islam. They represent a minutia of the Islamic world. But yet, you wouldn't know it from people like this guy, who basically is going to generalize and say they hate our country, they hate our values. Now he asks, why do terrorist attacks happen? Now, I'm going to say to you, Mr. Walters, that you're not dumb. You went to university, you are a politician, but you basically ignore the problems when it comes to geopolitics. Why? Because you basically side with Israel on just about everything. not so much Saudi Arabia or the Gulf. You basically see this as an evangelical Zionist partnership, and that no matter what the Israelis do or the Americans do, they'll never be wrong. So you are no different than the Islamic fundamentalists you are bitching about, criticizing about. Yeah, you're not in the streets, killing people. No, you're not doing that. But you're also not in a country where an entire empire is trying to rain millions of bombs on you. The reason why we have terrorism is simple. The majority of terrorists who commit terrorist acts are not doing it because of their religion. They're doing it as a response to U.S. Western foreign policy. Just the truth. Go to Osama bin Laden, Dr. Ayman al-Zawahiri, Saeed Imam al-Sharif, Abu Musab al-Zarqawi, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, Saif al-Adil, Muhammad Atta, Marwan al-Shahid, Ridwan Isamuddin. Okay, I can keep going on and on. Many, if not all of these people, committed terrorist attacks or orchestrated attacks in response to U.S. imperialism or Israel. Funny, they never really generally attack Israel, but it's easier to attack the United States, right? It is. Nevertheless, the reason why we have terrorism, sir, is because it is the United States and Israel and Saudi Arabia and the coalition partners who create illegal wars, create coups that actually hurt the Islamic diaspora. Iraq 2003, that alone should cause the ire of just about every Muslim in the world. It was a war based on the lies and forced confession of Ibn Sheikh al-Libi, who the Egyptians tortured with the CIA authorization of giving that torture. Syria, 2011. We funded the Islamic State. In fact, there was a program called Timber Sycamore, which the CIA headed under then General David Petraeus, who was the director. Who supported it? Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Israel. Libya, 2011, a country that didn't have an Islamic problem. However, Hillary Clinton, Samantha Power, and Susan Rice, the women of the Democrat Party, who are anything but progressives or Democrats in any traditional sense, they are far right because there's no such thing as a left and right when you look at it from the spectrum of politics and geopolitics abroad. They basically said, we need to get rid of Muammar Gaddafi. And what happened? Gaddafi's killed, and what's going on right now? Well, there is a 12-year civil war where the Islamic State and Al-Qaeda affiliated groups are having open-air slave markets. Aren't we proud? And then we have the problem of Gaza, which is probably either the worst or the second worst humanitarian crisis of my lifetime, with Bosnia and Herzegovina being either one or two. And Iraq, 2003, the top three for me. The amount of women and children that were killed by the Israelis with U.S. weapons will forever create terrorists against the United States and Israel, but mostly the United States, just the United States, and U.S. interests abroad. Now, I'm not saying, Mr. Walters, that we deserve this. People like you deserve this. We don't. Because if it was up to the American people, we would kick out the Israeli lobby from politics. We would have nothing to do with Saudi Arabia. We would want nothing to do with Israel because they are led by a bunch of religious psychopaths like Ben Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich, and hard right nationalists like Benjamin Netanyahu and Yoav Gallant, who are both wanted at The Hague for war crimes. I mean, you bitch and complain, you Democrats, about, oh, how Putin is a real evil. Well, you rant and rave about Netanyahu and Gallant saying, oh, these are real leaders. You're hypocrites, just like this guy. In fact, the Democrats and Republicans have very few opposition points. You agree just about everything on the board on the opposite spectrum. You fly different color flags, but the ultimate the symbol is still the same. You represent the government, which is the enemy of humanity. I consider them an enemy, an eternal enemy. I would want nothing more than the elimination of the U.S. government. You're evil, and you're a part of that evil. And let's hear what you have to say. That's the reason why there's terrorists. But you're just a racist. You're a nationalist, an evangelical Christian who thinks that the border and the Mexicans and the Arabs and the brown-skinned people are at fault here.
We also have to take a look at how are these terrorists coming from people that live in America. And, you know, you have schools that are teaching kids to hate their country, that this country is evil. You have the teachers' unions push.
The guy who committed the attack in New Orleans was born in the United States. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has the brain of a caterpillar, basically said that the borders need to be closed because this is how this guy got in the country. When it was well known in the press last night that he was from Texas. Whoops. If this is what's in our Congress, I fear for the future of this country. Now, say what you want about the left. Smart criminals they are, devious, thinkers. They'll bleed you slow so you don't notice it. You Republicans, on the other hand, you're retarded. You speak like you are four. Like, you know, the world is a fucking Street Fighter game. Just listening to you and like people like Matt Gaetz and Lauren Boebert. And then I hear the likes of you and Ted Cotton and fucking Lindsey Graham, and you guys are nut jobs. Straight out, we want to kill you, and the border needs to be closed, and we need to have all the brown people basically wear an identity card. You guys are just completely off the record, off hinged, out of pocket. And it's really amusing to me, but it's horrifying at the same time because you are now controlling of the House and Senate and you have the president. And I'm not afraid of Trump. Trump is not a Christian, so to speak. I'm afraid of people like you, people like Lindsey Graham and, Governor Mike DeSantis in Florida. You know, the real like evangelical Christian, the nightmares, I call you, the Heritage Foundation, the American Enterprise Institute, the people under John Hagee, that want to see the apocalypse come to life because they could get the rewards in heaven. You're no different than the Wahhabis who think that, where they value death more than they love life. You hate this world. It's sinful and everything in it. So you would want nothing more than to destroy it. That's the one thing I can give about the Democrats. The Democrats will try to instigate World War III through non-religious means. You guys will use religion and basically will want the end of the world right away. But Trump is not a Christian. He uses the Bible because he's a con man. Just like all con men do. They'll do anything to get a vote. You people don't give a shit. You really think that Jesus Christ said, verily I say unto you, use that nuclear bomb and destroy Tokyo or North Korea. God told me, well, he loves me, he hates you. And then there's a much more nefarious sect within the conservatives. And these are the people that hate Israel. And they hide behind the banner of anti-Zionism because, if they come out as a minority and say, we just hate Jews, they'll be demonized and destroyed right away. But when you have, this small sect within the conservative party, and they're not a force right now, but they're gaining traction. And right now, Israel is making it real easy for people to hate them. I'm not one of them because I can differentiate between a Jew who is not under the banner of Netanyahu or the Likud party or any of these right wing nationalist parties, and criticizes the Israeli government for genocide. But these people just lump all the Jews together, but they're hiding behind the anti-Zionist banner. And these are the people who are in the Heritage Foundation, the AEI, these hidden, Matt Gaetz is another one. In the future, these people will become the primary, power in the Conservative Party. All the old heads, they'll be gone. One thing about the Republicans have on their side that the Democrats don't have is the youth. Who also had the youth? Weimar Republic. What came after that? People like Reinhard Heydrich, Heinrich Himmler, Adolf Hitler, Hermann Goring. I'm not saying, you're the Nazi, Mr. Walters, but you share similar thoughts and ideas just like them.
Pushing this on our kid, the radical left wants people to hate this country. They've completely destroyed the integrity of the FBI by making them more concerned about DEI than about protecting Americans. It's amazing.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you have people within the Conservative Party that want to destroy the FBI. As for schools teaching the hatred of America, no. There is no school that teaches hatred for America. They criticize American foreign policy, and rightfully so. Now, you may get that one blue hair freak that basically, espouses that America is a Satan or, they're evil, but, they're a minority, right? I don't differentiate between the blue hair freak and you. You're both nuts. But you're both victims at the same time. You're victims of ideology. And in this case, politics and religion. A long time ago, I learned a lesson. And it was through the late Indian philosopher Jiddu Krishnamurti. And it was the greatest life lesson of my life because it basically, I let go of human applications like racism, religion, politics, sexism, all these catchisms, the constructs, human constructs that we're taught. They're not innate in us. You're not born of any religious affiliation. You're taught it. You're not born of any political affiliation. You're taught about it, and then you join. When you're born, your mind is like clay, formed. What is it formed by? By your loved ones, your friends, your teachers, your gurus, your associates. And they're all learning just like you. And all around us are all the human constructs. They're everywhere. In magazines, on billboards, on TV. It's in our very way of life. But when you look in the mirror, and what do you see? You see white skin? Do you see a Democrat? Do you see a Christian? What I see is a human being with unlimited potential. You have limited potential because you don't see yourself as a human being. You see yourself as a white Christian male, and that's it. And you only commiserate with people who look and sound and preach just like you. And this video is proof of that. And unless you let go of these properties and look at everybody as what they are, a unified humanity, we will never, ever evolve past this state. Oh yeah, technology, we're way ahead. But in terms of the human condition, I could say we are regressing.
Major part of this. And look, this is a real uncomfortable truth. I know the left is going to lose their mind, but listen, we cannot allow our schools to become terrorist training camps. We cannot allow our schools to.
I mean, come on, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Walters, if you're watching this video, do you really believe our schools are terrorist training camps? Have you ever been to a madrasa in, say, Islamabad? Have you been to a mosque in, say, Damascus currently? Have you ever been to the land of the two holiest sites in Islam, Mecca and Medina, Saudi Arabia? No. So you don't know anything about Islam in general. And you have the nerve to basically say that the United States school program are nothing more than terrorist training camps. Are they teaching kids how to bomb other schools or other people? Are they teaching them to subjugate women? Funny thing is that you evangelical Christians do just that. Well, you bomb abortion clinics, you bomb other countries in the name of God, and you subjugate women. All you have to do is take a look at the Red South or any of these Baptist churches, the more rural ones anyway. And it really, this is like infantile to basically make that comparison. And it just says a lot about you in general. You're ignorant, but you still have hope. You could still turn this around. You can go against the system, become anti government. Because if you're part of the government system, you are the problem. You can't reform it because you're reforming yourself.
Teach our kids to hate this country. We cannot allow our kids to teach that this is an evil country. That's why we are getting back to the basics here in Oklahoma to make sure that our kids love this country, understand American values, understand the role that the Constitution, the Bible, the Declaration of Independence played in American history, because we want patriots. And that's got to be the focus of our schools.
And that just
What a terrible day.
That just tell you everything right there. His focus is basically to propagate his version of Christianity, to create patriots, real men. They got to listen to Travis Tritt, or I don't know, some country singer. They think they're tough, right? Oh, that's a man for you. He could kick ass and wear jeans, right? That's what defines a man. He spits, tobacco out of the side of his mouth. He carries a huge gun and has a girl in each arm, right? Fucking simple-minded fuckers. What are American values? Do we have any? Is it a universal declaration? Or is it always changing with the times? What about universal values? The hell with American values. I don't give a shit about America. I care about the world. I'm part of it. So is everyone else. How dare you think that the center of the world is the United States? We're fucking dots on a screen in comparison to the universe. We are ants in the afterbirth. That's a line I stole from Manhunter. So, Mr. Walters, I'm not done with you yet, because basically, there was an article that I want to bring attention to, and then, I'll call it quits, because, I don't want to concentrate any further. I'm sorry, it wasn't an article, it was a tweet by you. And this is what you wrote. You wrote this December 30th. The Bible is a cornerstone of American history and should be taught as such. I will stand firm against any attempts by left-wing groups or unions to remove it from the classroom. I will fight to make sure that students aren't stripped from understanding America's founding principles. America's founding principles were made on the Constitution by the founding fathers who escaped religious persecution under the Church of England and created probably the greatest clause of all, and that is Amendment 3.1. And that's something I want to read to you today and end the video based on this. You say that the Bible is the cornerstone of the United States. It's not. It was given to you by the Baptists who basically wanted to escape the Church of England, who wanted to control religion. And thus, the reason why the amendment was made. Congress shall make no law repeating an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. This is something you're against, totally. You're against three of the four here: freedom of speech, petition against the government for a redress of grievances, and the free exercise thereof of religion. You want to mandate religion. I'm an atheist. I don't want to subjugate religion. I want people to, practice their faith without government interference. You want a government that is religious. But here's what now you always go back to the Constitution. We need to teach the kids about, the founding principles of our, well, here we go. But I noticed that none of you evangelicals ever read this in its totality. But since I'm a very anal and thorough person, I like to read everything in totality to put it in context. First Amendment's Establishment Clause forbids the government from making any law respecting an establishment of religion. That's called booyah. In other words, what you want is the establishment of religion in the United States through the government, your government. But here, under the Establishment Clause, the government is prohibited from making any law respecting an establishment of religion. Perhaps most obviously, this provision prevents the federal government from establishing an official national religion akin to the Church of England. But a law may respect an establishment even if it does not explicitly establish a religion. Thus, relying on the historical background preceding the adoption of the First Amendment and looking particularly to the colonists' experiences with religious establishments, the Supreme Court has long understood the Establishment Clause to bar other types of government support that would tend to establish religion as well. Motivities quieto. That's the end. You don't know jack shit about the principles of the United States, because you would know that your idea of having a state mandated religion or a government mandated religion is going against the very principles that you speak of, that the kids should know. And that's why I call you people hypocrites. No different than the Salafists, the Wahhabis, the Jihadists, the Takfiris that you allegedly hate, but share so much in common with, because you're both religious fundamentalists. All right, guys, that's the end of the video. See you. Have a good night. Take care. And I'll see you in the next video.